So how does like what you say like got an effect on your personal relationships, like friends, family, even like your marriage?
Mm-hmm.
So how does like that like what you say on stage affect that?
So the people that I do talk about on stage, like as far as my jokes and shit, my wife or my parents, my siblings, for the most part they don't care, because I'm not telling their business. I'm just telling my life story. So you just might have played a part in something that fucked me up. But I'm not like, oh, this motherfucker don't pay no bills, this scamming and shit. Like, it's not that, like. But if you're a part of a story, then you're going to be a part of the story, And like I said, I'm open to the critique of like, I didn't like that. Me and my wife just had a conversation about it last week. She didn't like a joke I did, and we had to have a conversation about it. I'm like, it's not meant to be offensive to you or anything like that. Like, but I want to continue to do the joke because it's a good joke for one, and two, like I said, I'm not trying to be offensive to you.
Yeah, Kevin Hart, his whole come out, he's flaming the shit out of his kids.
Yeah, so this is like, I tell a lot of stories about my life, and like, you don't live a life by yourself. So
right.
People, you got siblings, you got parents, spouses, kids, and shit. Like I tell jokes about my son. He only 2. He don't know what the hell I'm talking about, or that I even do comedy or what this is. But over time, he like, damn, man, this is what you said about me when I was great. But it's like, hey, this is just my life story, my point of view from what's happening in my life. So
yeah.
I do ask them like, yo, how do you feel about it? I don't ask them like, yo, can I do this joke? Because I don't run my jokes about people before I do it. So it's just like, hey, if you're there, hey, we'll talk about it afterwards if you felt the way. But most of my family don't really care. They're like, all right, they know what I'm doing, so it's not like, oh, you trying to just air my stuff out like this. Like, nobody in the crowd knows you, so it's just jokes to them. They don't know if it's true or not or whatever. But you will, because you hearing it and you know the story, so you like, oh, you trying to air my shit out. But most of my family don't give a damn.
So I know you just went on tour. What all cities did you touch?
I'm still on the road. I've been to Austin, St. Louis, Orlando, Miami. I'm going back to Orlando. I'm going to Columbus in a few weeks. Hollywood this summer. I'm gonna try to close it out in Austin, Texas. Back in Austin.
So you still adding cities as well too?
Yeah, I've been adding as I go type shit. I got something Terre Haute, Indiana coming up. I've just been adding shows as I go. It started off as like a 5-city thing, but by the end of the year, probably like 10.
So, like, how do you add these dates? Do you got a tour agent, or so you make these calls yourself?
I mean, I just make the calls myself, pick up the phone, and I've established connections over the last few years, so I'm able to make a phone call or make a phone call that'll make a phone call, so it's really just about connections, and I had to learn that, the hard way. I'm like, damn, why I can't do this? Like, you don't know enough people yet. You don't know the right people. You gotta know people who can move and, make stuff shake. So really, I reach out to clubs or people who running shows, and make connections with them, and over time, and I produce my own show here, so I'll have other comedians from out of town, come through and do my show. So sometimes it's just a return in a favor type of thing. Like it's a barter system. Like, oh, okay, you help me out, let me pull you up, on my platform, and vice versa. So it's the connections.
All right. So what all cities do you still wanna perform in?
Atlanta. I'm trying to set something up in Atlanta because I got a lot of people in Atlanta that want to see me. So Atlanta, Philly, New York, DC. Yeah, that's pretty much it. That I feel like I really North Carolina. I want to go out there too. They got a nice comedy club. out there, but it's not a whole bunch of cities. But I want to, see the world, obviously. But as far as like, I need to hit these cities, it's probably like five or six. Because I've already been to some places already.
So what city did you have the most fun like performing in so far?
Orlando.
That's actually my favorite vacation spot.
I love Orlando.
Orlando, yeah, me too.
I'm like, damn, Orlando.
Slept on.
I'm going back in a few weeks.
Yeah.
For most shows, I'm like, Orlando show, love. Like, I'm like, damn, like, do I want to move to fucking Orlando? Like, so been looking. So I'm like, let me start going back here a little more, for shows and shit. Like, I went there on a family trip a few years ago. Now it's the first time I had a show down there, so I was able to see it a little bit. I'm like, oh, it's not Disney. Like it's a real city outside of that. Because I hadn't been since I was a kid. So, but now as an adult and like just being out there by myself, like rolling around, like, oh damn, this is something I know. And then like the comedy scene, I know a lot of them already. So like pulling up to places, it's just like love and welcome with open arms. Versus here, sometimes it's like, damn, like I ain't from here or some shit. So I'm like, okay, Orlando show love. I'm gonna keep sliding to Orlando or whatever else. Austin show love too. St. Louis. Pretty much everybody show love. Chicago is just Chicago. So
yeah, you feel like that's like more of a like your competition, or is it just like just the culture?
So I feel like the people in Chicago show me love. I don't get it from like the infrastructure, if that makes sense. So like people come support me, my shows sell out, I'm fine. But like on the infrastructure level, like more of a higher up type of thing, I might not get the love that I feel like I should get. But I'm not entitled. I'm not. Nobody's obligated to fuck with me. So just keep doing my thing. I'll be all right. Like I said, I'm not missing meals. My kid is fed. My wife is good. I'm cool. So it's all right. Cool. If I don't need it, then I don't need it. It would be nice. But it's all right. They'll come around.
And do you bring your family with you when you go to all these cities?
Sometimes my wife will be with me. My son, he too small, so
right.
Sometimes it really don't make sense for him to come. So mostly I'm by myself. Sometimes I have my wife with me, but for the most part I'm by myself because it's just a little easier to just go and come back when I'm done versus get extra ticket, extra this, extra that, do this, do that. It get a little more costly because I'm funding all this out of my own pocket. I'm making money on the back end of it, but the upfront cost is like, whew. So gotta budget and move smart with the money.
All right. So what's the biggest difference between telling jokes to like different demographics? Like young people, old people, black people, white people, college age, mature age, older crowd. You know what I'm saying? Like what's the biggest difference between like the different the demographics and stuff like that?
I feel like it's the material. Like my personality itself is the same. Like whenever I'm on stage, but like the material has to change. Because if you're trying to connect to, like you said, college age, that's a 20-year-old. If you're doing a show at a church, it might be 60-year-olds in there. You know what I mean? 60-year-old ladies. So you can't be talking about some raunchy shit. You got to connect to them. So it's really just understanding who the audience is, but also just being yourself too, which is partially why I tell a lot of stories, because people can relate to stories. Like everybody done been through trauma and shit, like breakups and fights and family trauma and all of that. People got kids, so I talk about my son a lot. And just that experience being a father. Now I'm doing like marriage jokes, but they not necessarily like lighthearted jokes. They real jokes. It's real life shit. So for the most part, people can relate to the shit I'm talking about. But if it's a younger crowd, I know more of what's happening in the younger crowd. Like the lexicon, like what people are interested in. So I can throw some shit in there just to reel you in. Like, oh, okay, I don't know what's happening in the world. Like Diddy, all this shit going on. So I throw a Diddy joke in there, and it's like, oh, okay. Then I can get into my stuff, and you already on board. So everything else is like, we listening because we thought you was funny. So
It's just all about like being able to capture their attention to begin with.
you gotta capture their attention because, like I said, ain't no music up there. It's just you, a microphone, and people just staring at you. Sometimes you can't even see their faces because the light might be too bright. Sometimes you can see everybody's face and they just looking at you like this. Some people on their phone, like it just you never know. Like so, like I said, it's knowing how to adapt, but also staying you know, in that moment. So I don't change too much, but I will switch some material around depending on who in the crowd.